Fast fashion brands like Zara, H&M, and Shine dominate storefronts, offering trendy clothes at unbelievably low prices. For many, these stores are a dream come true, providing stylish outfits for a fraction of the cost. But behind the glittering displays and irresistible sales lies a dark reality. The fast fashion industry is built on exploitation, environmental destruction, and a relentless cycle of waste. This is the story of how the pursuit of cheap clothing has come at an unimaginable cost to people and the planet. The beginning. The rise of fast fashion began in the late 20th century, as globalization made it possible to produce clothes faster and cheaper than ever before. Brands realized they could capitalize on consumers' desire for the latest trends by churning out new designs at breakneck speeds. What used to be seasonal collections became weekly drops, with stores constantly refreshing their inventory to keep shoppers coming back. But to achieve this, the industry had to cut corners, and those corners came at the expense of workers and the environment. The true cost of fast fashion starts in the factories where these clothes are made. Millions of workers, mostly women in developing countries like Bangladesh, India, and Vietnam, toil in unsafe conditions for wages that barely cover their basic needs. These workers often face grueling hours, with shifts lasting 12 to 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. In 2013, the world was shocked by the collapse of the Rana Plaza building in Bangladesh, which housed several garment factories. Over 1,100 workers died and thousands more were injured. The tragedy exposed the horrifying conditions many garment workers endure. But has anything changed since then? Workers still face unsafe buildings, lack of fire exits, and exposure to toxic chemicals. The exploitation doesn't stop here. Many fast fashion brands rely on child labor to keep costs down. In countries like Uzbekistan and India, children as young as 6 are forced to work in cotton fields or factories, often under hazardous conditions. These children are denied an education and a childhood, trapped in a cycle of poverty that fast fashion perpetuates. The environmental impact of fast fashion is equally devastating. The industry is one of the largest polluters in the world, second only to oil. Producing cheap clothing requires vast amounts of water, energy, and chemicals. For example, it takes about 2,700 liters of water to make a single cotton t-shirt. Enough to sustain one person for 2.5 years. The dyeing and treatment of textiles release toxic chemicals into rivers and oceans, poisoning ecosystems and harming communities that rely on these water sources. Fast fashion also contributes significantly to climate change. The industry is responsible for about 10% of global carbon emissions, more than all international flights and maritime shipping combined. Synthetic fabrics like polyester, which are derived from fossil fuels, are particularly harmful. When washed, these fabrics release microplastics into waterways, eventually making their way into the food chain and even our bodies. Perhaps the most visible consequence of fast fashion is the sheer amount of waste it generates. The industry thrives on the idea of disposability. Clothes are designed to be worn a few times and then thrown away. In the United States alone, 11 million tons of textiles end up in landfills every year. Globally, a truckload of clothing is dumped or burned every second. This waste not only takes up space, but also releases harmful greenhouse gases as it decomposes. Chinese-based retail giant Shein is one of the largest, most popular companies in the world. Its $66 billion valuation represents more than 1/3 of the US fast fashion market. It's especially popular with Gen Z because it keeps up with trends, adding 10,000 new items to its inventory every day. It connects with youth through strategic influencer marketing campaigns and keeps prices low. Shein's influence and power are immense, as are its environmental impacts and ethical concerns. The company reportedly emits about 6.3 billion kilograms of carbon dioxide each year. That's equivalent to 180 coal-fired power plants. The company has been under scrutiny for terrible working conditions, stealing independent artists' designs, resulting in a federal racketeering lawsuit. The sale of offensive items and mishandling of customer data. The haul culture. They're not the only offenders. Hundreds of brands and companies contribute to the fast fashion problem. 6 others with the worst environmental records are Zara, H&M, Forever 21, Uniqlo, Mango, and ASOS. Despite these alarming facts, the fast fashion industry continues to grow, fueled by consumer demand for cheap, trendy clothing. Social media has only accelerated this trend, with influencers and celebrities promoting haul culture, where people buy large quantities of clothes to show off online. But as the industry expands, so does its impact on the planet and its people. So, where do we go from here? A growing number of consumers are becoming aware of the dark side of fast fashion and are demanding more ethical and sustainable options, prioritizing fair labor practices and environmentally friendly materials. Secondhand shopping, clothing rental services, and upcycling are also gaining popularity, offering alternatives to the wasteful fast fashion model. However, our generation struggles with embracing sustainable fashion habits. Many people avoid thrifting or recycling clothes, preferring new, trendy items over pre-owned or ethically made garments. Studies show that fast fashion pieces are worn only about 7 times before being discarded, fueling the cycle of overconsumption and waste.